Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mana Chamber, or welcome to Mana Chamber if it's your first time here. We do some ranking videos sometimes. Pretty much, I'm only doing ranking videos of commanders anymore. I had a few back in the day that weren't commanders, but we're just doing commanders now since I mostly play Brawl on this channel. So yeah, it's Lost Caverns of Ixalan time. It just came out recently. Again, we're just going to rank all of these commanders. We have school grades, A, B, C, D, and F. And then I'm going to figure out who's the best commander in the set. I'm going to figure out who's the worst commander in the set. And again, these are just my opinions, you know. Here we go. We got Abuelo, Ancestral Echo. He is a blue, a white, and 1 spirit, 2/2 with flying and ward 2. You can pay a blue, a white, and 1, and exile another target creature or artifact you control. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. He's honestly pretty fun. 3's a little steep to exile and return. I mean, it is nice, but I mean, what, 6 mana total to just do it once? You gotta cast him out, of course, first. I did build a deck around him on Historic Brawl on the channel. He was tons of fun, don't get me wrong. Exiling and entering the battle triggers can be super mean, so we're gonna put him in the B tier. We got Ancestral Deepest Betrayal for 2 black and 3. He's a bat god, 4/4 with flying and lifelink. Whenever he attacks, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you draw a card. Whenever an opponent discards a land, you create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. Whenever he dies, you return him to the battlefield tapped and transformed under his owner's control, and he transforms into Temple of the Dead. It is a land, and you can tap it to do black. You can pay a black and 2 and tap it to transform it at sorcery speed if a player has 1 or fewer cards in their hand, and he turns back into Ancestral. I think he's super cool, super useful. I actually feel like I want to give him an A tier because he just doesn't go away. He's super nasty, and don't ever have to put him back in your command zone if you're a commander. I don't know. Super cool. We have Akal Pakal, first among equals, for a blue and 2 human advisor 1/5. At the beginning of each player's end step, if an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them in your hand and the other into your graveyard. That's kind of interesting. Could be really cool for descend mechanics. You have to build a pretty particular deck around him, an artifact deck, and then you're also wanting to mill. Maybe good in like an Emery Lurker of the Lock deck or something. Him as a commander, not 100% sure on. I'm just going to put him in the C tier. Got Akawali, the Seething Tower, for a green, a black, and a 1 fungus. 3/3. He has Descend 4. So as long as there are 4 or more permanents in your graveyard, he gets +2/+2 and has Trample. He also has Descend 8. So as long as there are 8 or more permanents in your graveyard, he gets +2/+2 and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. He's actually pretty fun and pretty cool. You could get that Descend, especially in black and green, pretty easy. We're going to put him in the B tier. We got Amalia, Benavides Aguirre. Sure. She is a black and white vampire scout 2/2 with a ward of pay 3 life. Whenever you gain life, she explores. Then destroy all other creatures if its power is exactly 20. So when you get 20 power with her, it's a board wipe, baby. And she's exploring on gaining life. I feel like this is super fun and really powerful. I'm going to put that in the A tier as well. There is a Nimpakal, 1000th Moon, for a white, a red, and 1. Human Soldier 1/2. Whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on a Nimpakal. Then create X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of +1 counters on her. Kind of fun, so you want to send an army of people to attack. and then get her bigger, then swing out with her, making tons of gnomes. I don't know, I'm kind of into this. We're going to give this a B tier for me. It's Bartolome del Presidio. I don't know. Some of the names in this set are so difficult for me to pronounce, and I'm sorry about that. He's a black and white vampire knight 2/1. He has sacrifice another creature or artifact and put a +1/+1 counter on him. He's actually super boofy. The fact that you don't have to tap or pay anything to just sack creatures, you can just get bigger at any moment, is sick. So A tier here for me. It's Breach's Eager Pillager for a red and 2. Goblin Pirate with first strike. He's a 3/3. Whenever a pirate you control attacks, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Either create a treasure token, or target creature can't block this turn, or exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. He's pretty fun. You just choose one that hasn't been chosen. So if you get multiple attack triggers off, you could do up to all 3, but I mean you have to have 3 combat phases to do that, which is possible. A little bit of ramp on attack, first strike's good. I'm actually going to throw him in the B tier. It's pretty good. All right, it's Capricati Sunborn for a white, a red, and 2. Human soldier 4/4. Whenever he attacks, you may tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. If you do, discover 3. So what? The discover is kind of like the cascade mechanic in a way. May tap 2 untapped artifacts. I mean, he's fine for me. The discover is nice, I suppose. It's when he attacks. He is a 4/4, so you need to boof him up. I'll just put him in the C tier. That's a C for me. It's... Oh man, hold on. Their name is being covered in my app here. Okay, Captain Storm, Cosmium Raider. Cool. They are a red and blue human pirate 2/2. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target pirate you control. I mean, that's cool if you're going pirate deck. This is probably the worst one I've read so far yet, though, so we're going to go with D tier. Here is Galta Stampede Tyrant for 3 green and 5. Elder Dinosaur 12/12 with Trample. When they enter the battlefield, put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Of course, this is super clutch. Everybody was excited for this card in the set. I think it's... I mean, with mono green, I mean, you could ramp pretty easy into this thing. We're going to go A tier. Then you just throw out a whole host of bad boys and win the game. All right. I know this is a reprint, but it's Geshath, Sun's Avatar. Or a white, a green, a red, and 5. Dinosaur Avatar 7/6. He's got Vigilance, Trample, Haste. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards from the top of your library. Put any number of dinosaur creature cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is killer mean in my opinion as well. We'll throw this out at A tier as well. Cool, cool. Then we have Watley, Poet of Unity, a green and 2, Human Warrior Bard. He's a 2/3. Whenever he enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. You can pay a red or white and a red or white and 3 to exile him. Return to the battlefield transformed under their owner's control at sorcery speed. They transform into a Saga Roar of the 5th People. You create 2 3/3 green dinosaur creature tokens. Roar of the 5th People gains creatures you control have tap. Add a red, a green, or white. On 3, you search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. And on 4, dinosaurs you control gain double strike until the end, and trample until the end of the turn. Could be pretty nasty. Kind of like ramp dinosaurs. I'm not against this. It would take a while to pop off probably because you got to flip it. We're going to throw this in the C tier. We got Inti, Seneschal of the Sun, a red and 1 legendary creature, of course, human knight, 2/2. Whenever you attack, you may discard a card. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. It gains trample until the end of the turn. Whenever you discard one or more cards, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until your next turn. This is pretty good in Commander, not nearly as good as in like Historic Brawl, which I did make a video on this guy too recently. Oh no, he's honestly, for Commander, not amazing. Not amazing. I think I'm going to throw him in the D tier for Commander. Surprisingly. He could be C. He could be C. But I went with D. Alright, we got Itzquinth, Firstborn of Gishath. A green and red dinosaur, 2/3 with haste. Whenever he enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. When you do, target dinosaur you control deals combat damage equal to its power to another target creature. So, only if you're bouncing this thing, and in red and green, that's kind of hard to do. You're probably going to be like making copies of it instead. Yeah. I don't know about this one either. It's basically a one-off ability. We'll just throw this in the D tier as well. Alright, Kellen's back, baby. Kellen, Daring Traveler, for a white and 1. Human Fairy Scout, 2/3. Whenever he attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card with mana value 3 or less, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into your graveyard. He also has this adventure, Journey On, for a green. Create X map tokens, where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who control an artifact. I bet he's honestly pretty decent. I mean, he has to attack in order to get his trigger to happen. You make some map tokens, which helps you explore. I guess that could help you buff him up once he comes out. I suppose it's going to take you a few turns to get there. I don't even know, man. Let's just go with C tier on this one. It's not amazing. Alright. Zil. Malamet Exemplar, for a white, a green, and 1. Cat Warrior, 3/3. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Whenever one or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deal combat damage to a player, I draw the card. So, I mean, that they can't cast spells during your turn, actually amazing. And then you have to have power greater than their base power, so you want to buff your people up using him. The fact that your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, though, puts this in the B tier, in my opinion. And then we got Malcolm, Alluring Scoundrel, for a blue and 1 Siren Pirate, 2/1 with flash and flying. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, put a chorus counter on him. Draw a card, then discard a card. If there are 4 more chorus counters on him, you may cast the discarded card without paying its mana cost. This guy's actually super clutch. The flying, I mean, maybe just give him something to try to get around in case they have other flyers to block you. But other than that, you're going to be getting through. You'd have to get through 4 times, but then you're casting spells for free every turn. Pretty nasty, honestly. I think this would be a super fun deck, and I'm throwing this guy in the A tier. I know. Alright, it's Nick Anzel, Current Conductor, for a blue and green Merfolk Scout, 2/3. Whenever a creature you control explores a land card, you may put that land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. That's cool. Whenever a creature you control explores a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on, him. Putting land straight on the battlefield on exploring actually super mean and clutch. I think this goes in the B tier as well. You just put a bunch of explore mechanics in it. Alright, then we got all the gods in a row here. It's Osier Axonil, Deepest Might, for 2 red and 2 god, 4/4 with trample. If a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than his power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to his power instead. Whenever he dies, you return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under your control. Temple of Power. It's a land. You can tap it for a red. You can pay a red and 2 and tap it and transform him. Activate only if red sources you control dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn to. So here's the deal about these gods. The fact that they can transform and then come back into lands and then come back is crazy to me. So also in the A tier. We got Osier Chasm, Deepest Growth for 2 green and 3, God, 6/5, with Trample. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards from the top of your library. You may put a creature card or a land card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. When he dies, you turn him into Temple of Cultivation, who can add a green or pay a green and 2, transform him, activate only if you control 10 or more permanents and only as a sorcery. Potentially the weakest of the gods, but very good nonetheless. A tier again. I don't know if any of them are going out of A tier, you know? We got Osier, Peak, Deepest Epoch for 2 blue and 2 God, 4/3 with flying. Whenever you cast an instant spell from your hand, it gains Rebound. Whenever he dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control with 3 time counters on it. It turns into the Temple of Cyclical Time. Of course, it can add a blue and then remove a time counter from it. Then for a blue and 2, you can transform it only if it has no time counters on it. Rebound's pretty sick with this. We'll go with A tier as well. All the gods, A tier. One more god here. Here we go. Osier Tack, Deepest Foundation for 2 white and 4, God, 6/6 with Vigilance. If 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. When he dies, he of course turns into a Temple of Civilization. Can add a white or pay a white and 2, transform him back into himself, activate only if you attack with 3 or more creatures this turn and only as a sorcery. Also amazing, man. A tier there. A tier. Then we got Saheeli, the Sun's Brilliance for red and blue, Human Artificer, 2/2. You can pay a red and blue and tap him, create a token that's a copy of another target creature or artifact you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, and then you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I always like abilities like this. The fact that you have to pay for it is kind of sad to me, though. You could do some crazy stuff with it. I'll put it in the B tier. Put it in the B tier. That's fine. And then we got Sovereign Unkenek Au for a white, a green, and 2. Cat Noble, 3/4 with Ward 2. Whenever he attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. That's pretty crazy, actually. That's really powerful. For each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. That's, yeah. So you just boof everybody up with like +1/+1 on the back end with one of those enchantments or something. Start swinging, get a +1 counter, swing, get 2 counters, swing, get like 4. Yeah, it'd be insane. It'd be insane. Okay, we're gonna put him in the A tier as well. Then we have the Ancient One, which is another person I have played with recently. A black and blue spirit god, 8/8 with Descend 8. He can't attack or block unless there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. You can pay a black, a blue, and 2, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a card this way, target player mills cards equal to the mana value. People seem to really enjoy this card. I kind of had a tough time when I was playing with it. I know there's some cool things you can do with it. Like you could enchant him with something to make him lose all of his abilities, and then he's an 8/8, which is for 2, which is pretty insane. You could potentially mill somebody out. So that could be an alternative win strategy with this guy. He's diverse, so he definitely goes in the B tier at least. And then we got the Myco Tyrant For green, a black, and 1 Elder Fungus with asterisk asterisk. They have trample. Their power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control that are fungi and or saplings. At the beginning of your end step, create X 1/1 black fungus creature tokens with this creature can't block, where X is the number of times you descended this turn. So you want to descend as much as possible. This guy can be super powerful, go wide, and he gets big. I'm down with it. This could be A tier Matilda for me, actually. I think this is A tier. A lot of A tier guys in this set, surprisingly. Oh, we got the Skull Spore Nexus. Oh, no, sorry. That is an artifact. My bad. I can only look up Legendaries on my app, so I get messed up sometimes. Then we got Ukbenbach, the Great Mistake. I did play a standard game with him. He's interesting. He's a black, a blue, and 3. Skeleton horror with vigilance and menace and descend 8. His descend 8 is pay a black, a blue, and 4, and you're going to turn him from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on him. You can only activate if there are 8 or more permanents in your graveyard, of course, and only as a sorcery. He's pretty honestly mediocre. Like, he can come back. That's great. C tier. We got Vito, Fanatic of Aklazats, for a black, a white, and 2 Vampire Demon for 4 with flying. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, you gain 2 life if it's the first time this ability is resolved. The second time, each opponent loses 2 life, and then the third time you create a 4/3 white and black Vampire Demon creature with flying. Pretty sick, honestly. Especially since it's any permanent, it doesn't even have to be creatures. It can just be any treasures or whatever. Got to go with A tier on this guy as well. Crazy, crazy dog. All right, it's Zoyowa, Lava Tongue, for a red and black Goblin Warlock 2/2 with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, if you descend to this turn, each opponent may discard a card or sacrifice a permanent. He deals 3 damage to each opponent who didn't. I think that's good, honestly. Especially if you're trying to descend, and you can descend in black pretty easy. Put him in the B tier. Okay, that's my ranking. That's the entire list. That's all the commanders in this set. There were only 30 of them. Not as many as like the Doctor Who ranking video I did recently, where I want to say they had like 70 or something. It was only between 4 decks. It was a lot. Maybe there was even over 100. I can't remember. Either way, we got to pick out the best and the worst now. We're going to go with the worst first. Usually the worst is the easiest one for me to figure out. Let me just scope back on a couple of boys here. There's 2 of them I want to look at that I definitely think about. Yep, of course, there's that. Okay, and then... Okay, yeah, so, in my opinion, the worst commander of this set is Captain Storm, Cosmium Raider. Boom. Worst. I'm sorry. Whenever an artifact enters a battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target pirate. I mean, I guess you can make tons of artifacts with like treasures and stuff, but still. Only on a pirate, so basically on her. Dies to removal. You know, you've heard that phrase before. So that's where we're at. That is going to be where we're at with the worst commander. And then the best commander. I already know who I want to pick. I just want to look at their freaking name. It is... Oh, here we go. Ozurtak, Deepest Foundation. Look at this fool. 3 times the amount of tokens. That's stupid. Mix it with like Mondrak or something that doubles the tokens on top of that. Or any of these other token doublers. Crazy, crazy, crazy powerful. And of course, it transforms into a land. So even if it dies, it comes back. It's just interesting. So there we go. The best, the worst. What do you think? Do you agree with my opinion on the best? Do you agree with my opinion on the worst? Do you think some of these guys are jumbled up in the wrong spot? Really love to hear from you. I like to do this thing where I build a best commander deck and a worst commander deck in Historic Brawl on the channel. So be on the lookout for those in the upcoming future. If you made it this far in the video, I'd love if you subscribe to the channel. We do a few ranking videos every now and then. We mostly make Brawl videos, and then sometimes we do some like draft stuff. I'm also going to do a live stream at 150 subscribers. We did one at 100 to celebrate. 150, we're just going to do one for fun. Our biggest next celebration we're aiming for is 200 subscribers, which we are just steadily moving to thanks to you all. I appreciate your all's time today, and I appreciate you being around the channel. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Later.